I just saw like an animation of Patrick Star with his butt cheeks clapping, and I was just like, no, I'm not ready for this. This is not my morning. Hello and welcome to Kerbal Surceram. I have a Nene with me.
Hi!
And we're building the X-85, XF-85 Goblin, which is a fighter the size of this cockpit, basically.
So I searched for Goblin Fighter.
Oh no. Oh no.
Also, it looks like a potato.
A flying potato, but still a potato.
Yeah.
I'm going to turn off the reaction wheels like I always do, but I might have to turn them back on considering how terrible this is going to go. I am going to need also the part clipping. I figured out how to do the front maybe a little bit. No, this is definitely not going to work as intended. But my idea initially was, oh, like I could have the small one go outside of the big one, but that's not gonna... Another idea I had was using this, but then that kind of creates this very strange look that isn't right at all. The thing is, the real thing, its intake, I think, its intake is like bigger than the small intake, but smaller than the regular sized intake, which is...
It is pretty small though. You are probably going to need to use the small one.
I've broken it already. So there's our extra bulge to emphasize the egg shape.
Egg.
The other idea I had for how to get the intake on the front was to use just like a sharp cone and then have the smaller intake like... I don't know if you can hear the...
Yeah, that looks good.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not the best, but okay. I'll take your word for it.
I think it's more tapered than that.
Perhaps... It's not as much as this, though. So that has to be...
No, it's about half of that.
Does that seem... The other problem is I see different images show different, like, there's definitely, like, more than one variant to this. I think this front, as it is right now, like, as much as I like it, I think it's actually...
I think
it's too stubby.
I like the shape, but it's too short.
I know, me too. The parts that I have available are not the best for this. Another thing I could do is just make a completely custom shape using a fairing.
Because that's worked out well in the past.
I mean, it can. It doesn't always, but it can. Oh, that's way too... Tried to make it, like, super steep right away, and it's like, yeah, no, that doesn't...
Hey, that's not looking bad.
That's not terrible. Like, yeah, it's not quite the same coloring as the real thing, but that's alright. Oh yeah, and because the fairing's actually closed to the intake, it doesn't, like, hide the intake's internals.
No. Can you cover up that weird gap? Yeah, like that. I think also the engine needs to go down a little.
Oh yes, it does. Just rotate it ever so slightly so that this entire feature is going down.
Yes, that looks good.
I'm going to pull this back in a little bit more. The reference image I'm looking at, it looks like it needs to be a little bit more. Then this, I'm going to use an absolute adjustment so that it's, again, level. And then I'm going to pull it down a little bit more. Problem is how obviously, like, wrong that is from the back. And, like, I do have these, nose cones, but they're so small that, like, that one's very small, and this one's, like... I kind of like the look of that. It's still obviously wrong, but...
It just kind of looks like it's about to lay an egg.
You know, that's appropriate. I think this'll have to do for the main fuselage. I also did pull out a robotics piece because I was thinking of trying to make them actually fold up like they're supposed to.
Say hi to Simi, everyone.
Oh. Okay, target angle should be about...
It looks like it has a bit of anhedral.
Anhedral is slightly down, correct?
That's right, yeah. Maybe as much as 5 degrees.
Well, level is about there, so 109 plus 5 degrees is 114. I'm gonna go to 115.
This thing must have been horrifying to fly.
That's why they decided it was a bad design and not to use it. Basically, they're like, the design worked not that badly, but what happened was they realized that there would be no point in bringing this along because this would immediately, like, it couldn't compete at all with the fighters that it would have to compete with. So they're like, okay, the concept is sound, but this fighter is so not powerful enough that it just left you immediately vulnerable. Like, it's like, okay, the whole idea was an escort so that the bombers are safer, but this doesn't make them any safer. I mean, considering the ridiculousness of the design compared with the parts available, it's a trade-off. It's a trade-off, but like you said, I think it's a fair trade-off.
It's got a V-tail and then an upside-down V-tail.
Yeah.
And then also there's a rudder or two in there.
It's like, they're like, it almost seems like the design is, they kept running into issues and they thought, well, let's just add more control surfaces.
It seems a little bit early in history to be playing KSP, though.
Oh, I was thinking about taking one of these and then, like, moving it in partially, but then I realized that the amount of space interior I have to work with is also tiny.
I mean, the amount of stick out there is about right for the lower vertical stabilizer, which honestly is a sentence I never thought I'd hear myself say. I think it's flatter rather than at an angle like that.
Well, the bottom of it is flat, but like the whole thing actually sticks out behind the engine, and I'm just trying to like compromise between those by having it slightly angled.
Yeah.
It still obviously goes way too far. I think it was better before that. The top, the V-tail is the part that I'm like, I have no idea how I'm going to do that at all.
Well, there's so many tiny bits on it.
Yeah, that's the problem. It's so tiny, like, I don't... The smallest, like, non-control surface I have is this, and the smallest control surface I have is this, and those are... maybe could be manipulated together to do it.
I might say it's actually 45 degrees or so.
Yeah, and I'm looking at a front-on, and it's...
I was trying to get the rear shot again.
These are going to be oversized. If I'm doing it with these, it's going to be oversized. There's no avoiding it.
It's basically 45 degrees. You know, actually looking at this photo here, I love how it's really obvious that the bottom V-tail was just bolted on afterwards.
Oh, I need to see that photo. It has a control surface on it, though. Like, I guess they just are like, we can just shove some wires in here.
But it's so tiny. I've got an RC plane with bigger control surfaces than that.
I'm jealous of your RC plane. I want it. Let's get them.
Hey, you know what else I've just spotted?
Oh, no.
The V-tail has trim tabs. But it looks like someone cut them out of a sheet of aluminium with a pair of tin snips.
Everything you say about this design makes it better, and by better, I mean worse.
You know the best thing, though? That comparatively giant vertical stabilizer it has? There's actually no rudder on that.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. To me, that design just screamed, we need better stabilization, and that's all, and don't you dare try to move it, because it will kill everything. Oh, I need more of these. Elevons, elevons, elevons.
You know, when you sing it like that, it makes it sound like an advertisement for like a pastry or cake or something like that.
These are, like, they are way too big, but there's nothing I'm going to be able to do that's even slightly similar.
I think it's about the right shape.
It is! It's really the right shape, it's just too big. And no, I'm not installing tweak scale to whoever's screaming it in the comments.
You could drop that down a little bit. I think just have them sticking out the bottom of the V-tail.
Just a tiny bit.
Yeah.
Compromise between massive size and correct shape. I think I'm going to do the same thing here. Like, bring this whole tail down a little bit, and then I can bring these down even further. So it doesn't quite look right, but it does look closer, actually.
Like, I've got pages of photos of this thing.
Yeah, and it never looks right. I know.
It never looks right. There's nothing that looks right about this.
Yeah, I don't know which keys I'm hitting to do what. Like, nothing is going to be... Again, this is a case of nothing is going to be the right shape for these wings.
The second one that you had out with the clipped end like that actually looks pretty close to the overall sort of shape. You know, actually, the attachment point for the wings is slightly below the bottom V-tail.
No, fuck you. I'm not doing it. I'm keeping the attachment point where it is.
Hmm.
It's fine. I need to turn off the controls on this.
I think you're gonna need to use another one of those elephant pieces.
I'm so mad at them. Like, I'm just sick of using them right now. Just, I had to use so many of them that I'm just like, I'm done. Does the vertical stabilizer stick out above the... No, it's tucked in below them, actually. I think you're right that I'm gonna have to use another pair of those, or at least... Yeah, because this is probably gonna... This is probably gonna stick out of the... Okay, first of all, let's get the height right. The height's gotta be about like that. Then let's try to position it right. It's gotta be pretty much...
I don't think it's that low. I don't think it's that low. I think it's almost the same height as the outboard
I'm looking
pieces.
at a literal blueprint.
Yeah, because it looks like they followed that real well.
I mean, the blueprint has the bolted-on tail pieces, so... I'm actually going to turn off the one control surface that I thought was going to stay on. Okay, now, for the most important part. Upper angle limit needs to be 115, and its lower angle limit needs to be... How far did these fold up?
I haven't actually managed to find a photo of them folded up yet.
Oh, I have one. Okay, it looks like they fold to vertical.
I don't think it's quite vertical.
The image that I'm looking at, it's very hard to see if it's vertical or slightly off. I'm gonna go tell right here. This is near vertical, but not quite.
I'd say that's good. That looks good.
Save. Forgot to put fuel in it. Oh, and the center of lift has gone all the way to the back when the tail's... Well, actually, that makes sense, because now the only thing lifting is the slight bit here, because these are nearly vertical. There is one other component to this that I kind of want to replicate, but also... Ah, it's...
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to try to make that.
Well... How about let's see if it flies first?
I just found there's a book that exists called Let's Learn About McDonnell X-85 Goblin. I just found it, I found the cover of it in my search results here in the images, and I just have to look on it. It's, you can get it for $9 on paperback from Amazon. An informative book for everyone to learn about the fun-looking experimental XF-85F parasite fighter. This airplane was made just after World War II and was designed to be carried inside a bomber aircraft. Learn about why, how, and when this unique aircraft was made and tested, and what happened to it. The book has links to PDF activity files that can be downloaded and printed out for kids to enjoy and learn from. Like, literally, it's a kid's book about this insanity. Like, I tried to find an age, like, listing, like, intended age for... Oh, here it is, age level 7 to 15.
Well, Zelbury here has no idea coming.
Uh-oh. 7 to deploy the wings. Oh god. Oh god. Oh no.
Oh god.
That went as well as expected.
That actually scared off my cat.
Aww. It's interesting to look at the difference in search results I get if I search for XF-85 versus, XF-85 Goblin. Like, they're mostly the same things, but they're in a different order, and it is slightly different. So I actually have two tabs open with ones that are for the XF-85 and ones that are for the XF-85 Goblin. I also should have made the staging order so that you activate the, Oh! Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! That's not how that's supposed to work at all! Huh.
Zelbury lived!
Too close to the center of mass, apparently. Oh wow, yeah, that's a lot closer than I thought it was. And then also, this time, remember to turn off the steering on the rear landing legs. When I lower the wings on the Goblin, that's going to have a significant effect on the center of lift.
Uh-huh.
It'll be fine. We'll be in the air then, so it'll be fine. In theory. Assuming this gets off the ground. This time. See, this time I'm waiting till we get to the end of the runway to rotate. At least near the end. Oh dear. Ah! Oh! Oh, she's twitchy. Okay. Controls are a little bit sensitive. We're in the air. Success! This means the Goblin design is perfect and not flawed in any way, even though we haven't activated it or detached it yet. Let's go ahead and deploy those wings. That has not affected the center of lift really at all, which is slightly horrifying. I'm gonna wait till its maximum thrust is 20 kilonewtons, so I'm gonna let it get as close to that as possible. I also just noticed that the real life version of this is supposed to be a somewhat, not super high altitude, but a relatively high altitude fighter, because it was going to be carried on bombers that were going at a relatively high altitude, and this version in KSP, especially using the Juno engine, it's not actually that. That's not a thing. That's not going to be possible. All right, ditch it.
It flies.
Yeah, we're actually accelerating again. I love how long and unnecessary those rocket boosters are. Look, it's just shoving it into the ground. We are falling down slightly. Oh, it flies, but uncontrollably. We can't pull up. We're actually pulling up as hard as possible, and it's just slowly, gradually diving down. What if we can pull up slightly better with the wings retracted? I'm gonna say it's time to abandon ship. Get out of there. Cause they would die otherwise. Okay, I did hit the button for the okay, even though I hit the button for the parachute, it didn't actually work the first time, and I had to hit it another 2 times.
You know, in real life, they, for bailing out of this thing, they were going to use what's terrifyingly known as a ribbon parachute.
Okay. What does that mean? You have to explain more while I facepalm into a cactus.
It means it's terrifying, and I'm trying to buy time whilst I Google for it.
Oh yeah, that's the other part of the launcher. I was confused for a moment because I was like, what the hell is this over in the distance? But yes, successful design! Celebratory jump into a cactus. She is now one with the cactus.
It's a very private place.
Alright, well I'm gonna stop recording for now. So bye everybody!